Rebecca, Gareth, William, and Christina are here today to present to you our recommendations and implementation for the current issues you are experiencing. Our main question for you is, how are you going to get $500 million in sales by 2019? Well, we have your solution. Currently, we see that you have two main objectives. Firstly, to provide innovative products that exceeds customers' expectations and needs. Secondly, to continue your strong reputation of having high-quality products. It is imperative that these two objectives continue to align throughout your main mission statement, which is evident at the bottom of the slide. Currently, Arndt Industries was developed in 1938 and has three main subsidiaries: agriculture products, engineered products, and rail products. It is evident through these three subsidiaries that you have a very strong international presence and competitive advantage, which will give you the opportunity to expand in the future. Specifically, with the agriculture business that started in 1938, you've been able to enhance your demand and presence across the international market. In 1978, when you developed Arndt Engineered Products, you were able to exceed the customer's needs. And lastly, in 1987, your developing of the road rail products was able to create that presence in Europe and North America. Going forward, looking at the SWOT analysis, we see that you have many strengths that you can leverage throughout your expansion. Specifically, the board of directors is very experienced, as well as through your strong international presence, you have a very good reputation, along with your supplier relationships allow for many strengths. As well, your international presence throughout the three subsidiaries. However, it's important to balance these with your current weaknesses, which include the lack of succession planning within the board of directors, as well as the subsidiaries operating below capacity right now. Additionally, the poor financial controls seen in the AR process, as well as the current two breach of contracts that have occurred, and there's a lack of customer relationship management. There are opportunities as well that need to be considered, such as looking at investment opportunities in the equipment industry, as well as South America has many international opportunities that will also provide a benefit looking within the tax terms. There are threats that need to be considered as well, such as the recent government legislation for SR and ED credits, as well as the budget costs in the public sector, and lastly, increased fuel costs, which will impact margins. Given the SWOT analysis, it's important that this is integrated into the issues and implementation, which you will see later on. Since Arndt Industries began operations, it has had a very strong financial success. This is evident through surviving through the economic crash that happened in 2008, as well as the different subsidiaries being able to have profit sharing. However, it's important to maintain the relationship with the bank, and specifically the loan of $50 million at 7.5, as there's current expectations is to have an ROA of 10% and a current ratio of 1.5. As you can see here, the current ratio is being met as well as ROA, but that hasn't been met in 2013, so it's important that proper plans are in place to ensure that we meet the bank demands. I'll now pass it off to Gareth to discuss the alternatives.
Thanks, Rebecca. So given the issues we've identified, we've investigated three key alternatives. First is to develop the genset locomotive. This new locomotive uses fewer greenhouse gas emissions than current diesel models and will allow AI to take advantage of upcoming environmental regulations and industry trends. However, given the nature of this technology, it requires significant upfront investment as well as company resources. Here, AI has two options. It can either develop the locomotive in-house, or it can form a joint venture with another firm. The second option is to acquire TB Mining. TB Mining is a mid-sized equipment manufacturer and is currently looking to sell its mining division. This alternative is consistent with AI's growth strategy, and however, AI will need to perform more detailed assessments, namely in the fair market value of TB Mining's assets. The final option is to expand into Peru. This will allow AI to penetrate the emerging South American market where there's significant growth potential. It will also allow future access to potential international markets. However, this is very risky, and given the low estimated NPV, this may not be worth it. Given these alternatives, we recommend two options. Acquire TB Mining, develop the genset locomotive by forming a joint venture. Both will provide AI with a positive NPV. It's aligned with AI's growth strategy, will result in AI being compliant with the bank's requirements, as well as allow AI to pursue current industry trends. TB Mining has a proven track record, has strong aftermarket experience and support, and together the combined companies will have synergistic benefits in terms of cost savings. It'll have a positive NPV and is forecasted to provide the highest gross sales of $500 million by 2019. As well, given there's little risk in the mining sector, but this will also have a positive impact on AI. The only caveat is that there are other parties interested in purchasing TB Mining, and this may drive up the price of $11 million. The new genset locomotive will allow AI to compete in the long term with increasing environmental regulations. Partnering with an existing player, EL, will also help AI to mitigate the risks identified, as well as AI to gain considerable experience and knowledge, and as well as resources. It will allow AI access to new markets and different skills. Now, I'll pass it off to Will, who will discuss the implementation plan.
Perfect, thank you, Gareth. So the first issue with the implementation plan is the IFRS and ASPE debate. What's happening now is our industry currently follows IFRS due to bank regulations and requirements. However, TB Mining is following ASPE standards. Now what will have to happen is that TB Mining will have to transfer its accounting standards from ASPE to IFRS. Further, because it's under IFRS standards, TB Mining will have to become a consolidation into the Ardent Industry financial statements. This is a problem that it's going to cost money. Audit fees are going to go up for the first couple of years as they get used to the accounting procedures that are taking place. And there will also be valuations in TB Mining that will change slightly due to different requirements under IFRS and ASPE. Next is the union contracts. Because of the contract that has been set in place, there will be several requirements that will need to be met, and the union and management will have to come to settlements on certain disagreements. If this cannot be resolved, it will be required for management to go to a union leader or a third party to make sure that the contract has been met and there are no issues with the union. This should be done as fast as possible in order to lower the loss of revenues during this period of time. And thirdly, there is a $750,000 forward contract sitting on TB Mining's books that Ardent Industry can take advantage of in order to have a positive cash flow come into the company to help pay for some of the acquisition costs of TB Mining. Additional taxation issues include renewable resources. CRA is giving a tax advantage to have an accelerated CCA rate that can be applied to the production of renewable resources. This includes items, so for example, this would be the regular CCA rate would be at 10%, and now it's at 30%. This will give you an immediate cash flow, and it is strongly recommended that you take advantage of this tax incentive. Ardent Industry has values inventory based on the lower weighted average cost and net present value. However, CRA requires that inventory be valued on the first in, first out method, or the FIFO method. There will be slight variations in the valuation of inventory, and for this reason, there will be a tax adjustment. The lawsuit that is currently underway, there will be a requirement for the accrual and the expense not to be deducted for tax purposes until there's a settlement in the lawsuit. Once there's a settlement in the lawsuit, then you can start deducting these for taxes. However, any of the fees that you have been paying to your lawyer are deductible, given you have proper documentation and invoice, etc. And finally, international tax issues. You do have consigned inventory around the world. This consigned inventory will be subject to the domestic tax laws within the countries that they're held. So any of the revenues and expenses that are incurred will be subject to foreign taxes. There are Canadian trade agreements among many countries around the world. However, these agreements may or may not be, will likely not come in preference to the domestic tax policies. It'll be required to talk to a tax professional both in Canada and the given country that the sales were generated. And finally, foreign workers. There have been as you've noted, there has been a shift of Canadian workers going to the US on both a permanent and a temporary basis. There are certain tax implications to this that, given the time of this presentation, we cannot go over. As for the rest of the issues, operational issues, I'm going to pass it on to Christina.
Great, thanks, Will. So first we will talk about the joint venture with Energy Locomotive. This option is based, or the benefits from this option are based with association. If the companies are not, Ardent Industries is not associated with the joint venture, i.e. has 50% or less ownership in the joint venture, then the joint venture will be considered a CCPC, which means that they will be allowed to have their first $500,000 taxed at the low business rate. However, if Ardent Industries owns more than 51, I'm sorry. All right. Thanks, Will. First, we'll talk about the joint venture. This benefit, it's so hard.
I know, it's hard to get in this one, once you get in this one, then it's
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Thanks, Will. First, we'll talk about the joint venture with Energy Locomotive. The first aspect that should be considered with this topic would be association. If Ardent Industries owns 50% or less, then they would not be considered to be associated with the joint venture and would allow the joint venture to have their income taxed, or first $500,000 taxed at the low business rate. However, if Ardent Industries owns 50% or more than 50% of the joint venture, then all their income would be taxed at the high business rate. The next issue would be legal aspect. So currently, one of their longtime customers has set forward a lawsuit against Ardent Industries for $3.5 million. Ardent has so far offered a $2.5 million out-of-court settlement, which has not yet been accepted by the customer. However, the goal with this out-of-court settlement would be to hopefully retain this customer in the long term, reduce legal costs, and also minimize bad press. And the next issue would be the customer relations management system. Currently, Ardent Industries has a broad base of customers, and we would like to we would suggest that you implement this solution at the beginning of 2016, so that we can gain all that information and put it into the system and increase the value of that customer over its lifetime. And as that program will take a year to implement, it'd be best to do it as soon as possible. And then our next topic would be share valuations. Two methods have been used to do share valuations: the discounted cash flow method, as well as the discounted dividend method. And the average of these two valuation methods was used and came out to $180 per share. As there are so few as there are few shares between the four families, there was a 1,000 to 1 share split, which got us down to that number. And next topic would be quality control. So within the three subsidiaries, agricultural products is using Six Sigma, which means that they're having very high quality control, or high quality products being produced. Next one was the engineered products, and they were only doing quality control halfway through the production process, which means that the quality control was not as high as we would like, and has therefore led.
Thank you very much for taking the time, and now we'll open the floor to any questions.